I come from a country that no longer exists. It fell apart due to nationalism. From a young age, I experienced the danger of exclusionary mechanisms, of dehumanizing groups of people being misrepresented or one-dimensionally presented in public eye. Ever since my flight as a child from the civil war in Yugoslavia, I have been on a quest to make the world a better place, or even bigger, to save our society from ourselves. The Dutch word for society is samenleving, which literally means living together. We need to have a samenleving, but we often don't really live well together. As I grew older, I also realized the importance of people who are stigmatized, having a stage to tell their story in their own way. The lack of public space to tell a complex and true story about identity is huge in many places. This prevents our democracy from thriving. For a nation or a person to thrive, she needs to have a voice, to be heard, and needs to be able to influence the future. So when we look at ourselves and what the positions is that we have in the society and within our institutions, we can ask ourselves, what do we want to give attention to, and how? Can we bring hidden stories to the mainstream? If we are the mainstream, are we the mainstream? I think we are for a certain part. Can we bring unheard stories to the mainstream? Can we contribute to our democracy by showing stories that are hidden, normally speaking, by showing dilemmas and conflicts that are hidden? And how can we do that together with the people whose stories it is? And I therefore propose a few perhaps radical ideas. One of them is the artist as facilitator of an aesthetic space. We tend to think of artists as people who create content, who make something maybe with someone else, but they create an interpretation of the world within their work and show that to an audience member, to an audience. The proposal is the artist as a facilitator of an aesthetic space, not so much a content provider, but more a context provider. Someone who is able to shape a space, to shape a situation in which people can be, maybe only can be, in which we can let go of our fears, ideologies, arguments, and try to connect with each other on an eye level. Another thing that I want to propose is not seeing art as an object, but seeing art as a way of communicating with each other. And then, what about if we think of a curator as an activist? An activist who has the ability to give something a space, attention, a spotlight, to highlight something. What if the curator is someone who goes out and seeks hidden stories that are not told enough, who participates with that function in a more equal democracy? What if art can contribute that literally to a better democracy? And another thing that I would like to propose is art institutes as a place where hidden stories become visible, where people come to celebrate democracy, to meet the other. Art institutions as the bridges of our society. What does that mean? How can art institutions be the bridge? And how can artists be the translators, or not so much the translators, but and facilitate a dialogue that happens on a different level than arguing between ideologies and clinging on what we think we know or what we find comfortable or comforting?